All right. Hey, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our November masterclass here for the Ojo Select Network. My name is Jeremiah Taylor. We'll be one of your co-hosts today, and we're very excited to have you join us. It is 12:32. We had over 1,400 people registered for today's webinar. We are very excited that you all forced us to have to go upgrade our Zoom subscription just so that you wouldn't get locked out. We're super excited about today's guest. If you could, as you're joining and I'm watching the participant count grow, again, welcome, welcome, welcome to our November masterclass. My name is Jeremiah Taylor, one of the Ojo team members. Do us a favor, jump in the chat, tell us where you're from, and I will kick us off. I'm joining y'all today from Austin, Texas. So for the rest of you, let's see what we got. I got Portland, I got Tucson, Arizona, Wisconsin, San Diego, beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. I love the superlative when you discuss where you're from. Carmel, California, Dallas, Fort Worth. Oh my gosh, those are going really fast. It's like trying to watch the credits at the end of a great movie. See another Tucson, Central Virginia, Baltimore, Dallas, Stillwell, Oklahoma. Hello from St. Cloud. I see a Maui. What time is it? It's like 4 a.m. in Maui. No, it's not 4 a.m. in Maui. I think it's 7 a.m. in Maui. Thank you for your dedication. The Villages, Florida, Naperville, Illinois. Hey, y'all, for those of y'all just joining us, my name is Jeremiah Taylor. I'm part of your Ojo team. I'm very excited to host our November masterclass. We're going to give people about another 15 seconds to funnel in here, get comfortable. Oh, I see one from Arkansas. We'll do a quick bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn it over to our amazing speaker this month. Awesome. For those of you just joining, post up where you're joining us from in the chat. Again, my name is Jeremiah Taylor, part of your Ojo team that is hosting for you today. Las Vegas, Nevada. I want one more. Wyoming, New York. I love the juxtaposition of a city with a state name. I think that's a great place to end. For those of y'all that haven't been on a masterclass before, here's what you should expect. For the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to have amazing content from arguably one of the most renowned speakers in the world, definitely one of the most renowned in our vertical. Expect to take notes, expect a content heavy session, and it will be recorded so that you can watch it again. We're going to have about 35 minutes of content. We'll have time at the end for Q&A. There's a Q&A box there in your Zoom. Go ahead and park your questions in there. Expect it. We'll field them at the end. But then at the very end of this, for the last 5 minutes, you're going to want to stay tuned for just a couple hot tips on how to win with Ojo that'll be coming from the team. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to my friend and our Chief Real Estate Officer here at Ojo, Chris Heller, to introduce our speaker.
Hi, everybody. I'm talking to you from Eugene, Oregon today, so we are all over the place. I'm very excited about today. The speaker is not only someone that I admire, but is also someone who I got to meet on a podcast about a year and a half ago, maybe coming up on 2 years. We were both guests on a podcast. We both lived like 10 minutes from one another, but I'd never met. I had heard of Greg, and it was familiar with some of the books that he had written. And in fact, on the wall behind him is a book that he and I co-authored that came out earlier this month. So he was my mentor and co-author on the first book that I was involved with, and super excited to let you all experience Greg. He is also, amongst many other things, and he'll probably share some of those, has 17 years ago created an event that is one of the best known and least known at the same time events out there, called Secret Knock. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Greg Reid. Greg, super happy to have you with us.
Oh, it's a privilege and an honor to be with you today. Let's get this baby going. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Greg. I'm in the mean streets here in San Diego, California. I've been published now in 140 books, 45 different languages, and just recently got a star on the Walk of Fame in Las Vegas. And I tell you that to tell you a little backstory. I'm dyslexic. I can't spell. I can't read very well. And if you play me Words with Friends, you'll win every single time. But it all began with a mission. I wanted to become a best-selling author. And I realized the secret of success is to surround yourself with people who've already accomplished what you want. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I went to the best-selling section. Now, I didn't go to the best written book section because I wasn't a great writer, like I said. And I asked the best-selling authors exactly the system of how they did it. and they taught me, and I duplicated the message and I started doing it for myself. And it's the same thing in real estate. It's the same thing in selling cars. If I was going to start a brand new venture, I would go to the person who's ringing the bell. Who's the number one person in my chosen field of endeavor, and ask them for counsel. So the first book I ever did was called The Millionaire Mentor. Now, I'm going to share with you some amazing books you might want to have in your success library and some amazing people I met along my journey. And at the end of it, I'm going to put all these books in a package and send it to Chris, and then he can send them to whoever they choose to should receive them. So this one's called The Millionaire Mentor. Now, when you write a book, you do something called the query letter. It says who you are, what's your message, why an expert, who's going to read your book. I was turned down by 268 publishers in a row when I did my first book. Again, I'm dyslexic. The 269th one said, we'll do your project. All we want you to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It wasn't very good. So I asked them, I said, what do I do? And they said, you need a ghostwriter. Someone can breathe life into your words, your gift of gab, and then bring it to the world. So I surrounded myself with an amazing person. And the reason I tell you that is one quote from this book was shared 37 million times last year. Now you've heard this, seen it on bumper stickers, coffee mugs. You just didn't know it come from this. It says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. You see the quote all over the place. It came from a book turned down 268 times in a row. And people go, that's not true. It's impossible. Boom. Look at this. I'm at home. These are all my rejection letters. These are all the people telling me why I would not succeed. And the moral is we can never let another person or ourselves talk us out of what we know to be true. Not what we hope or wish or believe, but we know to be true. The very first book I ever did that took off to mainstream media was called 3 Feet from Gold. Now I'm going to tell you a story behind the story. You see, there's a book called Think and Grow Rich. It was done about 100 years ago by a guy named Napoleon Hill. He gained access to the richest dude of the world, Andrew Carnegie. And Carnegie says, here's an opportunity for you. He says, work for me for free for 20 years. I'll send you on a mission to meet all my friends. Napoleon Hill reached in his pocket, didn't even have 2 nickels to rub together, and said, work for free for what? He says, Mr. Carnegie, not only will I accept that journey, I'll complete the task. And then Carnegie says, fine, you got yourself a job. And Hill says, why are they going to talk to me? I'm just a kid. I'm nobody. I'm not connected. He says, don't worry about it. I'll write you a letter of recommendation. When people see it, they know I sent you. Give you all the time you want. Sat down with Edison, Einstein, Fords, Rockefellers, and wrote the 20th best-selling book in history called Think and Grow Rich. But here's where it gets kind of cool. You see, Carnegie was a stickler for action and gave Napoleon Hill 60 seconds to make up his mind to work for free for 20 years. And when Napoleon Hill said yes, Carnegie pulled out a stopwatch he began behind his back. There was 31 seconds left. He made a major life-changing decision in 29 seconds. But the best part of that story is that Carnegie made that same offer to over 250 men before Napoleon Hill. He was the only person to say yes. Everyone else had a bad case of the one size. That means I'm going to take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big breaks, once I win the lottery. And it's the people that take action. It's the action in the law of attraction that makes our dreams a reality. You got to think it, feel it, get off our backside. We got to take action and do it. How many times have we thought about knocking on more doors? How many times have we thought about getting some door hangers and going around and hiring someone to put our name and spread our message? How many times have we thought about picking up the phone and calling some of our past clients to get some referrals? But it's the people that take action. Again, they're the ones that we tell the story about. Well, that was in 1908 when that happened. Fast forward 100 years, 2008, the president, surviving family of the Napoleon Hill Foundation and the grandkids wrote that same letter like Carnegie gave to Hill, and they gave it to me. I basically got a Willy Wonka ticket to meet any human alive. And my full-time job is I travel the planet to meet the most powerful, influential people and then tell their stories in books and movie. The first one we did was called 3 Feet from Gold. It's a story about a guy named R.U. Darby. He gets gold fever and goes out west, knows nothing about gold, but everyone's doing gold, kind of like NFTs today, right? And he goes out west, starts digging, and finds a couple nuggets. He gets excited and he hides it and buries it. Tells his family and friends, and they chip in money to buy equipment to pull it out by the ore cart. The first cart comes out of the ground, and sure enough, it's filled with gold. Woohoo! Does a happy dance. But then the gold runs out. They kept digging. There's no more gold. Defeated, Darby walks out of the mine and says, I quit, and sees a junk man walking by. He says, hey, buddy, give me $200. I'll say the mine, the deed, the equipment. I'm going back home to something I know. Well, the junk man surveying the equipment, it was worth 10 grand because the family chipped in, gave him $200 right away. Darby goes home defeated. But the junk man seeks counsel. He goes to a local engineer and says, what happened? This guy hit gold and ran out. And the engineer starts laughing. He goes, man, that's mining 101. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line. It's called the gold vein. What Darby did is he came in one side, hit gold, popped back into dirt. He says, go back to where they discovered treasure, go 3 feet, just 90 degrees the opposite direction. You'll tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we or someone we know quit one class short from a degree or sales or marketing or marriage? It's easy to quit, but it's the people that persevere. They're the ones that we tell the story about. In fact, the first person I got a chance to interview in here is a guy named Dave Liniger. Now, Chris, you know him, but most people don't. And I sat him down and said, Dave, you want to get into real estate back in 1970. Was it hard? Because it was brutal. Because all the money ran out, the investment money, interest rate was 27%. I didn't know what to do. He goes, for 2 years, every phone call that came in was from a bill collector. He goes, when the phone would ring, I'd run across the hall and I'd pick it up so my poor receptionist wasn't put in the middle. The 3rd year, they threw me in jail. They called me a fraud and a liar. I said, what'd you do? He says, I took my attitude from trying to prove everyone wrong around me to just prove myself right. He goes, I knew I wasn't what they were making me out to be. He said, I had the courage to pick up that phone that would call before they could call me. And I call every bill collector every month and said, I'm going to be honest, I don't got 50 grand I owe you. All the money's gone, but I got $50. Let me send it to you with the promise I won't quit. He said, don't give up on me. I won't give up my dreams. He said, I called every bill collector every single month until the 4th year, someone finally believed in me and bought the first franchise called Remax Real Estate. He goes, look, I'm nothing, but how many people's lives were changed because I wouldn't quit? And how do we know someone watching this Zoom right now isn't about to give up on their own dream? Because Visa called them this morning. And from there, I got a chance to meet some amazing human beings. But my greatest takeaway from 3 feet from gold was John Schwartz. Now, John Schwartz invented something called string theory. If you ever watched a Big Bang Theory, Sheldon was trying to figure it out. But the guy who did, John Schwartz. And he said, one of the greatest lessons I think I ever heard, he said, successful people seek counsel and failures listen to opinion. Successful people seek counsel and failures listen to opinion. I go, what's the difference? He goes, think about it. He goes, opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge and experience, like all your family friends who've never done what you're about to venture upon. Counsel's based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. If you go to a family friend and say, I'm going to get into the real estate racket, they're going to tell you, are you crazy? Are you not seeing the interest rates? Are you not watching the news? That's their opinion, and they've never sold real estate. If you go to Chris Heller and say, hey, I want to get into the industry, what do I need to know? He's going to say, sit down. Here's what you need to know, and give you counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, experience, and wisdom. John Schwartz said, if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's a day your life would change. This little book is called Your Time Is Now. It seems like everyone's waiting for that perfect time, and that time is right now. This is it. This is what's going to change the difference between the people who dream of success to the top 5% who make it come to life. It's the people that seize the opportunity and capitalize on it right now. They're the people that we're going to be telling the stories about tomorrow. Understand this, one of the greatest ahas is the biggest millionaires, business franchises, iconic figures came from the roughest of times. Napoleon Hill said, our greatest success will always come just one step beyond our greatest setback. But the thing that holds most people back is their big butt. I don't mean the one they're sitting on. They go, I'd go do that too. But, and it's that but that stops us. This little gem, we did 3 feet from gold. After that success story, I was doing secret knocking. A gentleman came to our event. His name is Frank Shankowitz. He's the founder of a nonprofit called Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I asked him a question. I go, Frank, I got to ask you a question. You're the founder of Make-A-Wish. What did you ask for? He said, what do you mean? He looked like I had 2 heads. I go, well, what did you ask for? You're the founder of Make-A-Wish. He goes, no one ever asked me. I said, what? I go, I want to be the guy that grants the wish of the founder of Make-A-Wish. You tell me what you want, you can have it. He says, well, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids will know I did something. So he signed over his life rights. And I said, Frank, I'm going to make it into a major movie. Just know I've never made a movie. It took 6 years. And when it came out in 2019, we were on the ballot for the Oscars, and now we're trending worldwide. But the moral, the message, the takeaway, this is for everybody. You do not need to be a millionaire, a billionaire, or a celebrity to have a ripple effect. Everyone can give a pair of socks to a homeless person. Everyone can bring some food to people in need during the holiday season. And again, that one simple act of kindness, we have no idea the type of ripple effect it might have for generations behind us. After 3 Feet from Gold, Napoleon Hill, when he passed away, was going to do a book called Success and Something Greater. Never got a chance to because he passed away. So they let Sharon Lechter, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Kiyosaki, and I do it together. And we interviewed amazing people, but here's my message for this one. I was talking to this gentleman named Fred. Now, you don't know him, but we're at this mastermind group, and he's an older gentleman. He looked like he was successful. I go, Fred, I go, what's your claim to fame? I go, what did you do to become successful? And he goes, I invented the jet ski. I go, what? He goes, you know, the 2-person sit-down jet ski, you cruise around the bay? I go, of course. He goes, yeah, I sold the patent for 75 grand. I go, what? He goes, yeah, I sold the patent. And he turned around and started talking to someone. I tapped him on the shoulder. I go, Fred? He turned around and said, I go, he goes, yeah. And I go, do you know that that's $1 billion brand? Have you ever heard of Ski-Doo? He goes, of course. He goes, it's my pride. When I'm driving down the freeway, I see one pull behind a truck. I go, there's my idea. I go, but that's got to eat you alive that you sold it for just 75 grand. He says, no, you don't understand. He said, at that moment, that 75 grand was all the money in the world to me. He said, I was about to lose the family estate that's been in my, family name for generations. He goes, I got the mortgage caught up. I felt like $1 million. He goes, I got my employees caught up and I paid my back taxes. He goes, I had something called free time. Didn't even know it as a grown adult. He goes, I went through the attic and started digging around and I found these little metal die-cast cars. I used to play with them as a kid. He goes, a buddy of mine's in NASCAR, so I put his number on the side and I gifted it to him. Well, the other drivers saw it. They wanted their own car, so I started doing them for them too. Eventually, NASCAR came to me and just bought the rights for $151 million. He goes, sometimes as an entrepreneur, we need to do ourselves a deal in order to get us through to do another deal. This little book is called The Power of Proximity. Surrounding yourself with people, again, who are accomplishing what you want, like you're on this call right now. Surrounding yourself with people who are actually doing and not just chatting about it. Now, this little gem we did is called Wealth Made Easy. For years, I went around and interviewed people worth $100 million to $1 billion. And I got to sit down with some amazing people. One person was Lamborghini. You guys all seen Lamborghinis. I go, how is it that you and your pop created so much wealth and abundance with the Lamborghini brand? And here's his answer. And he goes, all you got to do is create a product, good, service, or experience, real estate people, that people save their money to happily hand it to you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, Greg, no one's going to save their money to buy your book. He goes, but they'll cash in their 401k to drive my car. He goes, you're not going to spend $4,000 a night to live in your own apartment, but you're going to go up to Anaheim and give it to a mouse with big ears. He goes, if you can create a product, good, service, or experience, that feeling of collaboration, that feeling of family, that feeling of you got their back, he goes, you'll never run out of cash. But one of my favorite ones was this billionaire guy. I go, how did you make all your money in dirt? And he said, time plus land is wealth. I go, what do you mean? He goes, time plus land is wealth. And he started screaming it. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, here's what I do. I go on Google Maps and I find anywhere, any town, it doesn't make a difference, that grows about exponentially 25% a year. He goes, I look for Broadway, Main Street. I draw a line out 8 miles and I buy the land. I rent that land to farmers. They pay the lease, so it's free land to me and I get vegetables for years. He goes, as the town continues to grow at 25% like it's been doing historically, eventually it ends up on my plot. And since I'm on Broadway and Main Street and I own the biggest amount of land, I resell that to the big box stores for 800 times what I paid, $1 billion. And I kept seeing over and over and over, the common denominators of the most successful people aren't rocket scientists. What they did is they had a strategy. a blueprint, and then followed it to the T with the understanding that things can adapt and adjust along the way. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, once told me, I said, hey, I want to be a billionaire like you. What do I do? And here's his answer. He said, stop over planning. He goes, have a strategy and then adapt and adjust. And I go, like what? He goes, if I'm on my sofa and I want to get to the end of the street and that's my goal, I have to get off my backside, take action, and move towards my goal. He goes, a planner is going to plan every step where they're going to pause, take a break. If a sprinkler comes on, it freaks them out, they run back home. Not me. He goes, I'm looking for opportunity. Did a kid leave a skateboard or a bicycle out I can use to make my journey short? He goes, if I get real lucky, I'll wave down a neighbor driving by and hitch a ride. He goes, either way, I'll get to my goal. I'm just not so caught up in the exact how it has to happen. And right now is a perfect time for everyone watching this, everyone that's participating. Understand this, things are adapting, things are adjusting. We can cry and complain because it wasn't the way it was where we had, 18 cash offers waiting in line and people throwing money at us. Now we got to get a little scrappy. Now we got to roll up our sleeves. But the secret is to find tested, time-proven principles that Chris will teach you and then do something absolutely crazy. Honor your mentor by applying those principles. That is the key to success. This book is called Stickability, the power to persevere. First there's a dream, then there's a challenge, and then comes victory. Unfortunately, most people quit in the challenging times. A lot of great stories in this one, but I'm going to share it with one of them because it was my favorite one. I saw this guy named Marty Cooper on 60 Minutes. He invented something called a cellular phone. You remember the big brick, the actual cell phone? 3 days later, I'm in his office, and I go, Marty, what does stickability mean to you? And here's his answer. He goes, stickability has to be parallel with flexibility, the same exact thing that Truett said. I go, what do you mean? He goes, let me tell you a story about a spider monkey. He said, in the rainforest, the spider monkey is the most quick, nimble creature. You can't harpoon it, spear it, catch it. It's too wiry. But one hunter figured it out. He took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut inside, left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut, come down from the treetop, reach his hand and grab a hold of the nut. And then his fist becomes so big he can't pull it back out, become anchored to the log. Now, all he's got to do is let go, but he holds on with dear life, thinking that nut is nutrition. It's saving him. The hunter comes by an hour later, captures the elusive spider monkey. The question I have for you, are you holding on to your own nut right now? But it could be in that form of that deal or the past or guilt or what was one time and not right now. And what we're holding on with dear life, thinking it's saving us, just like the monkey thought the nut was, could also be the thing that's leading to our own demise. Sometimes we have to have the courage and the fortitude to adapt and adjust so we can live to fight another day. Evander Holyfield told me a great story one time. He says, the only reason I've had success in my life is that I have a higher standard. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, in sports, I showed up early, I left late, I invented exercises, I had a higher standard, I won more championships. I go, but didn't it hurt being in a fight? He says, yeah, it hurts, but when you're in a fight, you don't focus on the pain, you don't focus on the blows. As soon as you focus on the pain, you end up on your back knocked out. But that's what people do outside the ring. They focus on gas prices, war, economy, and then they wonder why they never become a champion. And he pulled me in tight, an Adonis of a man missing half an ear bitten off by Tyson. He says, you know what the funny thing is? He says, when you do win the championship, he says, everyone comes to their feet and they chant your name. They raise your hand in victory and the guy puts a big, shiny belt around your waist. He said, at that moment and at that second, you don't feel even one of the punches you took along the journey. But the guy in the losing locker room will have every bruise, every excuse for the rest of their life, wishing they had a higher standard. One takeaway from this book, whoever's going to win this one, you're going to love this. CPC. If you're going to write anything down I'm going to say with you, this would be it. Get your notepads out. This is life-changing. CPC. It's an acronym. It stands for clues, C, patterns, P, choices, C. It's about accountability and responsibility for everything that happens. It is your fault. Stop blaming the world around us. It is us. It is our own doing. And it's also our opportunity to change things. So for example, I'm a single guy and I go out on a date with a beautiful woman. Now she's 20 minutes late. Anything could have happened, but there's a little red flag. That's a clue. But I like her. So I continue to date her. And on the 10th date and 15th and 20th, she's always 20 minutes late. Well, that forms a P, which is called a pattern. Now it's my choice, whether I deal with it, I yell at her, I break up with her, I tell her a different time, but it's not her fault. She's just late. We have to stop trying to change people to fit into our own paradigm box. Newsflash, no one wants to be changed. But we'll see someone with a bad reputation in business. They cheat your best friend. We do business thinking, oh, it'll be different for me. And when things go wrong, we're mad at the person. We saw the clue, we saw the pattern, we made the choice. It'd be like seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister, you go pet it, get bit, and you're mad at the snake. Looking back in life, rarely will we be angry at relationships that failed or negotiations that fell through. We're usually just mad at ourselves because we stayed in too late. We saw the clues, we saw the patterns, but we made our choices late. My personal idol, mentor, his name's Jim Stovall. He wrote this book called The Ultimate Gift, and he and I together just did this one, just brand new out. It's called Passport to Success. I'm going to put this in here and sign it for you, everybody. And also my mentor, Charlie Tremendous Jones, and I did this one together. It's called Positive Impact. Charlie said that we are the same today as we'll be in 5 years, except for two things: the people we meet and the books we read. It's who we hang out with. It's what we put in our head that determines our character as a person. In high school, if we hung around smokers, we're a smoker. If we hung around jocks, we're a jock. The same thing applies today. If we hang around people that complain, gripe, moan, that will become the conversation that plays in our head. But if we hang around people that are positive and solution searching, then that too will become the conversation that plays in our mind. The choice is up to us which one we actually listen to. First, there's a dream, then there's a challenge, and then comes victory. The secret is to never give up and have that stickability to persevere through those tough times. You know, one of our favorite Secret Knock alumni is named Ron Klein. He invented the MLS, multiple listing service for real estate. He also invented the credit card magnetic strip on the back of your credit card devices. And I asked him, I go, how in the world did you come up with this? And he says, well, back in the day, if you went to Macy's and they gave you some dishes and you went to the counter to pay for them, they gave you a plastic card with raised numbers and letters. And then they'd look over here in this accordion list of numbers. And if it wasn't on your card, you had good credit, you could leave with the dishes. They put in a little device with a ka-chink, ka-chink. You remember those days? And you leave with your goods. And he goes, there's a way to put smarts in the card. And reel-to-reel tapes were the cool thing back in the day, those old 78 tapes. And he said, I took a clip of that, put it on the back of the card. I did a start and a stop. And then I made you the computer. I made you the actual machine. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, have you ever noticed when you go to swipe it, you got to get that right speed? He goes, I made you the machine that you have to get that right speed of that 78 tape so it actually read the device. First, there's a dream, then there's a challenge, and then comes a solution that can change the world forever. And people always ask me, you know, where is it that you've had your most aha moments, your biggest takeaways, your, you know, epiphanies, so to speak? And it seems like every time I interview somebody new, I get a new golden gem. And the secret keeps coming down to is there is no secrets. It's all time-tested principles that people have applied for generations, but they've done it with a new twist. So for example, in the old days, if you didn't want to knock on doors and you can get an email list and you can start going out to people and asking for referrals and sending out some text messages is a completely different way, but you're still taking action. It is the action in the law of attraction. We cannot sit there and say, I wish I had and not have it and then complain to the world. There's an old bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Here's the big question. What would you do the moment you stop worrying about what people think? You don't want people to see you knocking on a door. They don't want to see you succeed. They want to see you having some success in your life. Yes. It's about putting yourself out there and doing what's uncomfortable so that tomorrow you can have the things that make you comfortable for years to come. Pretty simple mindset. And I know, Chris, we're going to wrap up pretty quick, but here's the thing in a nutshell. Look, I don't know everyone on this call, obviously, but I do know this one thing about you. Chances are everyone comes to you for counsel, for great advice. You know why? Because you're a leader. That's why you're on this call right now. But it is time, especially for 2023, to draw an imaginary line in the sand and step across it and say, you know what? It's my turn. I've got that idea for a book. You know, Chris Heller and I did this Dominant Thoughts book together because we realized that thoughts become things by the actions in which we take. How many times have we had $1 million idea in the shower, and by the time we brush our teeth, it's down the drain to see it on a billboard and go, hey, the only thing that changed between me and that person is one person acted. Chris is a true believer in an action-taking phenomenon, because when he thinks of something, he surrounds himself with positive, like-minded people that know more than he does in a chosen field, and then makes it come to life, but is willing to roll up the sleeves and do what's necessary, again, to create a life of sustained abundance. So for 2023, you draw that line in the sand and you step across and say, it's my turn. I've got that idea. I've got the entrepreneurial spirit. I will not take it to my grave. We draw that line in the sand and remember what Napoleon Hill said. Yes, our greatest success might come just one step beyond our greatest setback. So if you're going through challenges and hard times, good news, you're in great company. The key is to persevere and keep going through. We draw that line in the sand and we step across and say, it is my turn. I love you, family. I love you, friends. I've been taking care of you. Now it's time for you to take care of yourself. You draw that line in the sand and you step across and start filling your own cup so full that you can feed the world with what flows over. Les Brown said it best. You've got greatness inside of you. It's time to start shining that and bringing it and showing it and sharing it with the world. We draw that line in the sand and step across and we say, it is my turn. And when we want to say die and throw in the towel, that's when you kick it in the most. You've got something great. You are something great. Never surrender, never give up, because you too, just like Darby, could be 3 feet from gold.
Greg, that I could literally sit here for the next hour and listen to you keep going. And I know that everyone on here probably is feeling the same way. I'm watching their messages in chat. So, and you've had multiple lifetimes of experiences and the people that you've got to meet and talk to. I have a couple questions, Jeremiah. I'm sure you do. Jeremiah, how do we open it up for our partners who may have questions?
It is open. So if you have a question, you want Greg to talk about something, Chris, anyone on here, actually, you can just throw it in. There's a button at the bottom of your Zoom that says Q&A. Click that. It'll pop open and you can type your question in there.
All right. Hey, Greg, and you touched on it. And we've all, and you and I spent a lot of time with a lot of salespeople. One of the things we talk about a lot to all our agent partners is the fact that the gold is in the follow-up.
Yes.
Everyone knows that, but people still, as you write about in your book, 3 Feet from Gold, I still see people stopping and being stopped. What is it that we could do or say to help people not do that anymore?
Well, it's interesting. Napoleon Hill, when he did Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter was the last chapter called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. And the 6 ghosts of fear were like, one's a fear of old age and fear of loss of love. And we helped update that. We believe the 3 greatest fears is the fear of the unknown, kind of like we don't know where the economy is going or, whatever. So the fear of the unknown, it's the fear. This is the other one. Ready for this one? The fear of pain. But the biggest one is the fear of judgments, the fear of what other people are thinking. If you're walking down the street in Nebraska and you tripped over a curb, you probably look up to see who saw you, even though you don't know anyone in Nebraska. It's our instinctual thing. And the crazy part of this is nobody's thinking about you. They're dealing with their own life situations. It is time literally for us to draw that line and start leading by example and doing the things that we know we need to do. Look, you don't need another book. You don't need another seminar. You don't need anything. No, what we need to do is look in the friggin' mirror and go, what counsel would you give to yourself if you were mentoring yourself? And then do something crazy and apply that wisdom. And the fact of the matter is there's new tools, as we know, to do these follow-ups that can even automate it. There's text magic. There's all these amazing things that we can do. But the key is the follow up. It's to stay in touch and touch marketing, especially for what's coming next. Trust me on this one. Anyone and everyone that's ever done any business with you, everyone should make a commitment that all they're going to do is reach out to 3 or 5 of those people every single day and say, hey, just following up, staying in touch. Happy holidays. Let us know we can be of contribution. Any touch. You don't have to be a salesman. Any touch, I promise, will result in somebody reigniting their memory, saying, hey, I know somebody could use your services.
I love that.
Greg,
Jeremiah, real quick, you said something that dawned on me. That's a chapter in our book, is stop worrying about what other people think.
Yes.
And that is, you nailed on that. Jeremiah, go ahead.
when what I heard you say, Greg, that I all too often hear agents do is they look for a way to automate the hard work. They look for a way to complete the follow-up. But what I heard you say is that it's connection, not completion.
100%. It's so interesting. So I do something for myself. Now, I'm not a big guy to tell you what to do. Like you heard, my whole speech is sharing what other people taught me. And then I do something crazy and go apply it. And I do this thing, it's called contact roulette. I pull out my cell phone every single day and I go to my contacts. I stop it on something and I just send them a text. I do it to 3 people every day, no matter what. And you would not believe what comes from that. Whether it's going out, hanging out with a buddy, that I haven't seen for a while to go play golf, a business deal with someone. Hey, I'm thinking about writing a book. Someone wants to come to an event, whatever. But I'm telling you, contact roulette is one of the greatest things you could play.
I love it. I love it. So for agents that are on here, this is your opportunity. Throw those questions in chat. Now, don't be intimidated. I know that Greg gave you a ton of amazing content. And Greg, I was a little intimidated by the contact list of just the people and the magnitude of those people that you've met in your life. For somebody that is on here, they're probably like me thinking, gosh, how does he meet all these great people? What tip could you share?
Specificity. And it's so simple. The most successful people are the most available people. I know it sounds weird, but the most successful people are the most available. If you're brand new, you're happy-go-lucky, you're fresh, you're cool. If you're at the pinnacle, top of your field, happy-go-lucky, you got nothing to prove. When you're in the middle, you're a pain in the neck. You're filled with ego. You're edging God out. It is easier, literally, to jump to the front of the line than most people could imagine because they have the most free time. And if you can get that face-to-face meeting with them with specificity, this is the key. So I'm going to give you guys my simple solution. 12.5. So I can remember that. 12.5 changed my life. So if I want to get to the founder of, let's say, NASCAR, I reach out to Mike Helton and say, Mike, I'm asking for 12.5 minutes of your time. That is all. No one wants to brain pick, by the way. No one wants to go to lunch with you. They don't have dinner. They don't want to talk smart. But everyone's got 12.5. So Mike, I need 12.5 minutes of your time. I'm going to cover all my own expenses to fly from California to Florida to meet you. From the time I open the door till the time I leave will be 12.5 minutes. I'll start a stopwatch. I just want to ask you one simple question, XYZ. The chance of that person coming from their office to the break room to do that is phenomenal. And then once you guys connect, you can extend it, or at 12.5, it goes off and you leave. Imagine this. I'm on stage and there's 10,000 people. I get off and there's a long line of people that want to take pictures and talk. And they say the nicest things. How can I be of contribution? How can I be of service? How can I work? I don't got 30 minutes to do a resume check. Compare that to specificity. Hey man, just saw your talk. It's awesome. I saw your Instagram. You got a couple million followers. I make really cool memes. Let me send you one. If you like it, maybe you'll use me in the future. 8 seconds. I know who you are, what you do. You got my cell phone. We're in contact. That is the key to opening doors.
Amazing. All right, we got a couple questions.
Hey,
Greg,
there's that one in chat. Are you going to take that one, Jeremiah?
Yeah, Greg.
Okay.
Are there situations that still make you nervous or anxious? And if so, what are your tactics to build confidence in those situations?
Yeah, constantly. I mean, because I always push myself to something that I don't know. So, for example, when we made films, I sought counsel and I have sat down with the greatest minds to find out what they did. Right now, we're working on two TV reality shows. So, I'm reaching out to people that, started entertainment and all these different things to find out exactly what they do. And the way that I do it is I show up as my authentic self. Back to that Mike Hilton interview with NASCAR. I rarely share this story, but since you kind of brought this up, is a good one. I remember I was out there and we're doing this interview, and he's this huge, like John Wayne character of a gentleman, and he was sitting there, and his arms were crossed, and he was an angry guy, and the whole office was filled with all of his employees and camera crews and all this different stuff, and it was just dull. It wasn't going anywhere. And I go, you know what, Mike? I go, I think I owe you an apology. And he goes, why? I go, this is the worst interview I ever did. He goes, what? I go, yeah, this is not going anywhere. You don't want me here. I understand that. I go, let's just stop. So we get up and start taking off our microphones. And I go, hey, Mike, let me ask you something. And he goes, what? I go, when you got that first $1 million check, that big giant cardboard thing? I go, when you went home and told your mom, what'd she say? You go, you know what? She told me to take out the trash, but my dad, he loved it. In fact, he told me, and then he sat back down. And all of a sudden he reached in his pocket and he pulled out this tattered piece of paper. I mean, literally it's just falling apart. And I go, what's that? He goes, it's the Cowboys ethics code of the West. I go, what did they mean? He goes, this is how we started NASCAR. He goes, people don't understand this, but back in the earlier days, he goes, when the Nance family started it was all about, Winston cups, smoking cigarettes and drinking, and, we were moonshiners. He goes, but I saw more families coming out. So I did the Cowboys ethics, which is, say less, speak less, say more, do what's right for the brand. And I go, give me an example. He goes, well, I realized that M&Ms and Tide were more family brands. So we got rid of the Winston and we brought in these different ones. And he goes, what we did is we changed everything all based on this paper. And everyone in the things like, oh, all this different stuff. And it ended up being one of the greatest interviews I ever did. And as I walked out, the vice president of NASCAR pulls me aside on my little rental car and says, you're not going to believe it. She goes, I've been working with this guy for 25 years. I never knew he had that in his pocket.
That's amazing. That absolutely amazing. All right, next up, I'm a rapid fire. Greg, you mentioned one of the major principles is action. What is another principle that is common from successful individuals?
Surround yourself with people, again, that are accomplishing what you want to do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just put a new hubcap on it. Understand your weaknesses and strengths. So for example, if you want to knock on doors, I'm just giving an example, but you're afraid to, have the courage to budget some dough aside to pay some kids to knock on some doors, some hanger, do some actionable stuff. Work your strengths, hire your weaknesses, or work your strengths and leverage your weaknesses. So what does that mean? Well, I don't have money to hire someone. Well, guess what? I don't know what the laws are, so I want to preface when I say this. However, maybe you can sit there and say, hey, go out and knock on the doors and do this portion of me, and then I'll share some of the profits that I make from doing this next day. But there's always a way to leverage. I remember during the COVID times, someone came up and said, hey, I got this idea for a clothing line of this cool brand. And then I knew another guy who made t-shirts in his garage, and they couldn't work anymore because everything was shut down. And another person made websites. So you put the three together. Now all of a sudden they've got a three-pronged business where everyone's working their strengths, and together came out with a clothing line that's going crazy. You see the difference? So there's always a solution to our challenges.
Love it. Next up, what would you say to someone who is considering leaving their current career to start a new venture?
Again, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist, and you only know what's best for your family. But I am one of those crazy believers that I think we should work our day job and work our side hustle until our side hustle becomes bigger than our day job, or at least if we can make that transition, because scared money doesn't make money. The old rap song, but it's true. So for myself, again, this is just because you're asking my counsel, is I would sit there and make sure that I had something going over here, and I got the words of wisdom, at least got the knowledge and experience to go forward. And here's another thing. If I wanted to get into something brand new, for example, the music industry, I'll make it up, and I knew nothing about it, before I quit my job and go into music industry, what I would do is I'd ask to volunteer and to work for free at a music studio. And then I would do that for a week, a month, a year, whatever, to see if I even liked the industry before I give up my whole dreams to go to something. And I think people miss that opportunity. There's so many ways to go test and try things without having to go all in and put yourself at jeopardy.
Love it. I think this is probably a good last question. I want to be respectful of your time. Is for those that have follow-on questions or just generally like they want to follow you, they want more of your content. How do people get in touch with you? Where do they follow you? How do we find Greg Reid?
Well, the easiest way, believe it or not, is Instagram, because I do everything myself. So if you go to Instagram, Greg S. Reid, and just send me a DM, I'll get into contact with you. Here's my only request. I don't like to talk about the weather, what you ate for dinner, your pet's name, but you sit there and say, hey, what's a good business book I should read? Or, hey, what's a good contact or anything? I promise you I'll respond to all of those. So that is my offer, Greg S. Reid on Instagram. And for those of you who are interested in learning about Secret Knock, go to secretknock.co and fill out an application to come. It's pretty phenomenal. We sold out for March 6 months early. We saved 20 tickets aside, and I'm like Noah's Ark. Every time I do an event, I'm doing 10 events between now and then. I got 2 tickets available for someone, and it's the weirdest way that we do it. It's expensive to go. I'll give everyone a heads up. It's $3,000 for a ticket, and I will not tell you where it is. I will not tell you who will be there, but I will tell you it is life-changing and game-changing for those who step up.
I love it. I love the challenge to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You have a parting thought you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, like I said about drawing the imaginary line, we can get all hyped up and get fired and excited and all that good stuff. But again, it's that action behind the attraction. And Tony Robbins taught me a great lesson about the Post-it note. And the idea is the power of 3. Whatever we've been putting off, whatever we've been procrastinating, imagine if you took a Post-it note and said, these are 3 things, as small as they could possibly be, that I promise I'm going to do today. And what you do is it says, I'm going to do my laundry, I'm going to walk the dog, and I'm finally going to fix that squeaky little, doorknob or whatever it is. And then what you do is you make a commitment that you do those 3 things. And then you write another Post-it note for tomorrow. And what'll happen is you'll find within just a short period of time, you'll run out of small things. And then you got to deal with those taxes. You got to deal with those tough conversations with the husband or wife you've been putting off. And I'm telling you, the power of 3 and the Post-it note is absolutely phenomenal. If there's anything I can ever do to be of contribution, follow me on Instagram, reach out, Greg S. Reid. I'd be glad to respond to each and every one. Thanks for having me on. Chris, love you, brother. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate you. Hey, for everyone that's on, we will get the books from Greg. We have the names of everyone's here. We will randomly draw names. And so some lucky people will each receive a book.
Well, wait, so Chris, I actually want to double down on that because we have like a handful of 5 hot tips. There's a group of you that are still on and you're still listening. And we're going to give you an opportunity because you're the people that stay to the end. So from right now, 1:20 p.m., go in the chat, comment, and put your name and your market. I'll show you how to do it. I'll start with mine, Jeremiah Taylor, Austin, Texas. That's the group that we're going to draw from, not the people that joined in the beginning, left Zoom running, and are out walking their dog. If you don't put your name in there, you're not entered. This content was way too good to sign off early. Some of you that are putting it in the Q&A, make sure you put it in the chat. I love this coming in. All right, while you all do this, I'm going to give you, last week, I kind of like ad hoc gave these 5 hot tips for winning with Ojo. And we got such amazing feedback about it. It's now a thing. We're going to do it on every masterclass. And as the team always does, what that means is now they made slides so that I don't get off track. So you all should be able to see my screen. Here's a couple hot tips. Number 1, you have seen emails come from us about agent profiles. The reason
your screen is not loading.
Uh-oh, thank you for the heads up. How about now?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. You've seen info from us on agent profiles. If you log into your agent tools on your phone or on your desktop, referrals.ojo.me, at that top right corner, you're going to see that you can click there and you'll be able to update this information on your agent profile. What you may or may not know is that we actually share your information with a consumer via text and via email when we introduce you. There's also a spot on movoto.com where we have your information available for them. We want to build that out. We want to make it even better. So help us by getting the information in there as you do this. If you have questions, you can email support@ojo.com on any of these. Number two, we made a change. When you go now and you tell us, hey, I'm not able to help this person, I'm not able to work with them, you will not immediately release them out of your dashboard. They will go into an inactive state that there are filters. This is also in your agent dashboard. Get in there, play with it. What we found is a lot of times agents say, hey, I can't help this person right now. What do you know? 2 weeks later, the person calls you back, or you do what great agents do and you follow up. And turns out you can help them. So now you no longer have to email support and say, please put that person back in my dashboard. They're already there. They're in the inactive state. You can grab them, pull them back. Number three, remember to use the snooze. If you're going to be out of the office for a little while, you can snooze and unsnooze as many days as times a day as you want. You can set yourself to snooze for a day, 2 days a week. Our team has heard your request loud and clear to give you some more granular control of snooze and unsnooze. We are working on it. But for now, this is just a reminder, snooze so you don't lose. Because if you don't snooze and we're sending you a bunch of lead offers and you're busy, our algorithm is going to look at that and it's going to think you're disengaged and you don't like us. And we like you, so we hope that you will like us and respond to every lead offer or snooze when you're going to be unavailable. Number four, I said this the last time, I want to reiterate this. There is a small percentage of the consumers that we are meeting on Movoto.com that our data science is flagging as high intent, high propensity, high potential leads. These are people that we think are more likely to transact quickly. As our research indicates, it is better for you, the agent, to be the first person to immediately call them instead of us at Ojo calling first, asking them a bunch of questions, and then trying to three-way call you in. Interestingly enough, we've heard back from a lot of you, hey, I don't love improv. I don't love being told, hey, I got 30 seconds, get on the phone and do your thing. I'd rather have a minute to collect my thoughts, think about it, look up the property, and then call. This is your opportunity. So make sure that when you get a lead that is not a warm transfer, that you are going in your agent tools, you're clicking to connect, that is going to call out to you first. You're going to answer that phone call. It's going to tell you the number it's coming from. Answer that, and then our technology will dial the consumer for you. It's like kind of like a little one at a time dialer if you're an agent that's ever used a dialer. The important thing that happens here is it helps our team understand that you have made that first outreach, because we don't just throw these over the fence and hope you get it right. Our concierge team, our CER teams, they are also calling the consumer, and we don't want to bump into each other. So use the technology. If you have questions on the technology, email us, support@ojo.com. Number three, we have ongoing educational opportunities. We're going to send this deck out. Any of the tips that I'm giving you today, or even more about how to win with Ojo, that stuff is in here. If you haven't completed this, if you haven't done it in a few months, we do make updates to this regularly. You can always go back through it. Two more. Number one, if you're already not a part of our social communities, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. Join these groups. It's called the Ojo Select Network Group. You should have gotten an invite. There's going to be links in the deck that we send out. It's amazing. There's 11,500 people in the Facebook group, and over 40% of them engage. In fact, I'll give you a secret. There's even some referrals that get traded in there. So I would make sure that you join those groups, you get engaged, you pin them as your favorite groups, comment, get involved. There's things that go on every day in there that are super important. And then last point, and then I'm going to give away more stuff, so stay tuned for just one more second, is we have these agent learning centers. These masterclasses, all of them, our team is doing an amazing job. The marketing team is taking them, they're breaking them down into bite-sized pieces that you can watch over and over. They're breaking them down so you can share them with your team, share them with your sphere, and they're all hosted in one page at the Ojo Masterclass webpage. And then all of those are cut up. So you'll see the videos from our friend Tim Heil here at the bottom when we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. It's all cut into little snackable bites for you so that you can keep this learning top of mind. Here at Ojo, we see ourselves as so much more than a referral network. We want to be your partner in success, and we want to cause you to succeed at a higher level. And we're going to continue to create opportunities like this. So, Julie, we're going to do it again. It is 1:26. I don't know if y'all noticed, we got new merch because we have a new brand at Ojo. If you want some Ojo merch, we're going to give away some Ojo merch throw your name and where you're at. Look at this. Al Rowe's already ahead of it. He's like, Al Rowe, Portage, Michigan. I'm here. Throw your name in there and where you're from. Let us know that you're still on and you're still paying attention. And we'll throw another drawing in for Ojo merch here at the end.
Love it.
Fran,
Love it.
Julie, did I miss anything? I went super fast. So that
I
we
know
could be
you
done on
did.
time.
I will say the one thing too, also to look out for is we do have some new training information. So the new LMS training for existing agents, that's going to be a broader part. Like, you know, we went through the tips and tricks, but it's going to have a lot more information in it. And that's going to be available soon. And we'll send a link for that out soon.
Awesome. Cool. And then there's so much coming in right now. If you have individual questions like, hey, I haven't gotten a lead or whatever it is, I wish I had enough time to answer those. Please email support@Ojo. You can email me, jtaylor@Ojo. We will be happy to help you. We want to be your partner in success. Thank you again. And I'll give you a teaser. Next month, we have Ben Kinney. Chris is going to interview Ben. Now, if you haven't met Ben, Ben is one of the most successful real estate agents in the United States. This year, his team has sold over 1,000 homes, I think, Chris, is that right? Yeah, Chris is nodding yes. Ben also, as just a little side hustle, he started a second company called Place that was recently valued at over $1 billion when he raised $100 million from Goldman Sachs. Talk about somebody that stepped over the line and took action. It's going to be amazing what we hear from Ben. So we'll close it out for the month. You all that are enjoying a holiday with your family next week, please enjoy it. Take some time off, get some downtime, and remember, the best way to start 2023 strong is to finish 2022 strong with momentum. So step over the line, go out there, get them. We're proud to call you partners here at Ojo. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.